You ever feel like there's something missing inside you that you can't name? Not sadness exactly, not depression, just this emptiness that sits in your chest like a weight. You wake up and it's there. You go through your day and it's there. You try to fill it with work, with people, with achievements, with distractions, with anything that might make it go away for just a second. But nothing works. Nothing sticks. You buy things you don't need. You scroll endlessly through feeds that leave you feeling worse. You say yes to plans you don't want just to avoid being alone with that hollow feeling. Because when you're quiet, when you're still, when there's nothing to distract you, that void becomes deafening. And the worst part is trying to explain it to someone. They look at you like you're crazy. You have a good job, you have friends, you have a life that from the outside looks fine. So what's wrong? Why do you feel so empty? But you can't explain it because you don't even understand it yourself. You just know something is missing and you have no idea what it is or how to find it. What if I told you that this feeling, this void you can't name, is the most real thing about you? That it's not a flaw, not a weakness, not something broken that needs fixing? In 1647, a 24-year-old genius named Blaise Pascal stood at the base of a mountain called Puy de Dôme in central France, holding a glass tube filled with mercury. Everyone around him said what he was about to prove was impossible. The greatest minds of his time, following Aristotle for 2,000 years, believed that nature abhors a vacuum, that emptiness cannot exist, that the universe itself would rather bend the laws of physics than allow true nothingness to be. But Pascal knew different. He knew that the void was real. He knew that emptiness existed, and he was about to prove it in a way that would shatter everything people believed about reality itself. But here's what nobody tells you about Pascal's experiment. It wasn't just about physics. It was about you, about the emptiness you feel, about the void that sits inside your soul that nothing seems to fill. This is going to challenge everything you think you know about that feeling inside you. So pay attention. Because what Pascal discovered on that mountain 377 years ago is exactly what you need to understand about your own life right now. Pascal didn't wake up one day and decide to revolutionize physics. He was trying to understand something that haunted him personally. His whole life he felt it. That void, that absence, that sense that something fundamental was missing. And unlike most people who just try to ignore it or numb it, Pascal did what geniuses do. He investigated it. He studied it. He took that internal existential void and asked, does this exist in the physical world too? Can I prove that nothingness is real? The establishment said no. Aristotle had declared it 2,000 years earlier. Horror, vacui. Nature abhors a vacuum. The idea that the universe would do anything, break any law, to prevent emptiness from existing. If you tried to create a void, nature would immediately rush in to fill it. Air, water, invisible forces, something, anything would occupy that space because true nothingness was impossible. But then in 1643, an Italian scientist named Evangelista Torricelli did something strange. He took a glass tube, sealed at one end, filled it completely with mercury, then flipped it upside down into a dish of mercury. Logic said the mercury should pour out. Gravity should pull it down. But it didn't. The mercury stayed suspended in the tube about 30 inches high, and above it, in that sealed space at the top of the tube, there was nothing. Absolutely nothing. No air, no liquid, no substance, just void. Torricelli had accidentally created what everyone said was impossible, a vacuum. True emptiness. The scientific community lost their minds. Half of them said it was a trick. The other half said there must be invisible particles or some unknown substance filling that space because emptiness cannot exist. But Torricelli and Pascal knew the truth. That space was empty. Genuinely, completely, terrifyingly empty. Pascal heard about this experiment and became obsessed. Not because he cared about mercury in tubes, but because he recognized something. If physical emptiness can exist despite the universe trying to prevent it, what does that say about the emptiness we feel inside? What does it mean that we walk around with voids in our souls that nothing seems able to fill? He had to know more. He had to prove it beyond any doubt. So he designed an experiment that would be impossible to argue with. He would take a barometer, a tube of mercury, just like Torricelli's, and carry it up a mountain. If the space above the mercury was truly empty, truly a vacuum, then atmospheric pressure was what held the mercury up. And if atmospheric pressure was real, then the higher you climb, the less air above you, the less pressure, and the mercury should drop. On the 19th of September, 1648, Pascal's brother-in-law, Florent Perrier, climbed Puy de Dôme, a mountain rising 4,800 feet above sea level, carrying that tube of mercury. At the base of the mountain, the mercury stood at 28 inches. Halfway up, it had dropped to 25 inches. At the summit, it measured just 23 inches. The void above the mercury had grown not because anything had escaped, but because there was less atmospheric pressure pushing down on the mercury in the dish below. Pascal had proven 3 revolutionary things in one experiment. First, the vacuum is real. True emptiness exists. Second, we live at the bottom of an ocean of air that presses down on us constantly with invisible force. And third, the higher you rise, the less pressure, the more void. The implications were staggering. For 2,000 years, humanity believed that nature prevents emptiness at all costs. But Pascal proved that emptiness is fundamental to reality. The void is not an aberration. It's not an error. It's woven into the fabric of existence itself. And here's where it gets personal. Here's where Pascal's physics becomes philosophy. Here's where his discovery about atmospheric pressure becomes a revelation about your soul. Stop for a second. Let me ask you something real. You also feel a pressure invisible crushing you? Not the kind you can point to and explain, but something constant, something heavy, something that makes it hard to breathe even when there's nothing physically wrong. I need you to know something. That pressure is real. What you're feeling isn't imaginary. It's not weakness. It's not you being dramatic or broken. You are living at the bottom of an ocean of invisible forces pressing down on you every single moment. And most people never even realize it's there. They just feel crushed and don't know why. Leave a comment right now and just write this. I feel the invisible pressure because I need you to name it. I need you to acknowledge it. Your vulnerability right here, right now, might be exactly what someone else needs to see to realize they're not alone. Your truth matters. Your experience counts. And when you put it into words, you're doing something powerful. You're proving that the void is real, just like Pascal proved it on that mountain. Drop that comment. Then let's keep going. So Pascal proved that physical emptiness exists and that we live under constant invisible pressure. But he didn't stop there. Because Pascal wasn't just a physicist. He was a philosopher, a theologian, a man obsessed with the human condition. And what he realized next changed everything. The void he discovered in that tube of mercury was the same void he felt in his soul. Think about it. That barometer with the vacuum above the mercury, it's you. The mercury represents everything you use to fill your life. Your job, your relationships, your achievements, your possessions, your distractions, your goals, all of it sits there, suspended, held up by the pressure of the world around you, the pressure to perform, to succeed, to be happy, to have it together, to keep climbing, to keep achieving, to keep consuming, to keep moving. That pressure is real. It's constant, it's invisible, but absolutely crushing. And above all that mercury, above everything you've built and accumulated and accomplished, there's still void, still emptiness, still nothing. You can pour more mercury into your life, get a better job, make more money, find a relationship, buy a bigger house, achieve the next goal. But the void doesn't shrink. If anything, it grows. Because the higher you climb, just like on that mountain, the less pressure, the more the void expands. Success doesn't fill it, achievement doesn't satisfy it, more stuff just makes the emptiness more obvious. Pascal saw this in his own life. By age 16, he had revolutionized geometry. By 18, he invented the first mechanical calculator. By 24, he was rewriting physics. He had everything. Genius-level intellect, recognition, resources, a future that seemed limitless. And he was empty, profoundly, devastatingly empty, because the void inside him had nothing to do with what he lacked externally. It had to do with what he was internally. Here's what Pascal understood that most people never figure out. The void isn't a problem to solve. It's a truth to accept. You were made with a void inside you. Intentionally, purposefully, the emptiness you feel isn't a bug in your programming. It's a feature. It's the most important thing about you, because that void is the exact shape of something infinite. Pascal wrote later in his Pensées, his unfinished masterwork on human nature, what he called the most famous line he ever penned. There is a God-shaped vacuum in the heart of every man which cannot be filled by any created thing, but only by God, the Creator, made known through Jesus. You can try to fill that void with finite things, finite pleasures, finite achievements, finite relationships, finite substances, finite experiences. But a finite thing can never fill an infinite space. It's not a matter of finding the right finite thing. It's understanding that you're trying to fill the Grand Canyon with teaspoons of sand. The pressure you feel, that invisible, crushing weight on your chest, it's the weight of trying to make finite things do what only the infinite can do. You're trying to make your job give you purpose. You're trying to make another person complete you. You're trying to make success satisfy you. You're trying to make pleasure fulfill you. And none of it works because none of it was designed to work. The void remains. And it will remain until you stop trying to fill it with things that were never meant to fill it. But here's where Pascal's science and spirituality become one beautiful truth. Just like atmospheric pressure is real, even though you can't see it, spiritual pressure is real, even though you can't measure it. Just like the vacuum exists, even though Aristotle said it couldn't. The void in your soul exists, even though the world tells you it shouldn't. Just like climbing higher means less pressure and more void, pursuing worldly success often means less genuine satisfaction and more existential emptiness. Pascal's barometer didn't just measure air pressure. It became a tool for measuring the human soul. The mercury rises and falls based on invisible forces. Your life does the same. Some days you feel up, some days you feel down. And you can't always explain why. Because there are pressures acting on you that you can't see. Spiritual pressures, existential pressures, the weight of your own mortality, the burden of your own freedom, the responsibility of your own existence. All of it pressing down constantly, and the void above it all, waiting. Pascal spent years trying to fill his void with mathematics. When that didn't work, he tried physics. When that didn't work, he tried invention. He created the Pascaline, the first mechanical calculator, thinking that practical achievement would satisfy. It didn't. He studied geometry, hydraulics, probability theory. He corresponded with the greatest minds in Europe. He had fame, recognition, intellectual stimulation, and the void remained, untouched, unfilled, growing, until the 23rd of November, 1654, the night everything changed, the night Pascal stopped trying to fill the void with created things and encountered the Creator himself. He called it his night of fire. For 2 hours, from about 10:30 p.m. to 12:30 a.m., Pascal had an experience of God so profound, so real, so transforming that he wrote it down immediately and carried it sewn into the lining of his coat for the rest of his life. 8 years he carried those words next to his heart. The memorial, as it came to be called, starts with one word: fire. Not the fire of philosophical argument, not the fire of intellectual proof, but the fire of direct encounter, the fire of presence, the fire of love. He wrote, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob, not of the philosophers and of the learned. The God he encountered wasn't an abstract concept to be debated, wasn't a theory to be proven, wasn't a philosophical necessity to make sense of existence. It was the living God, personal, present, real, the God who spoke to Abraham by name, who wrestled with Jacob, who revealed himself not to the proud intellect, but to the humble heart. If you're watching this and you feel like you're exactly where you need to be, like something is shifting inside you, like maybe for the first time someone is putting words to what you've always felt, I want you to do something. Hit that subscribe button. Not because I need the numbers, but because you need the reminder. You need these truths showing up in your feed when the void starts screaming again. When the pressure becomes too much, when you feel like you're the only one who feels this way, this channel exists to tell you the truth that the world won't. The truth about the void, about meaning, about purpose, about the only thing that actually satisfies. So subscribe, turn on notifications, become part of a community of people who refuse to numb the void and instead choose to understand it, because you're not alone in this. Not even close. After that night, Pascal was a different man. He abandoned his scientific pursuits almost entirely. Not because science was wrong, but because he had found what he was looking for. The void was still there. It would always be there. But now he understood it. Now he knew what it meant. Now he had encountered the only thing infinite enough to correspond to it. He spent his final 8 years writing what became the Pensées, fragments of thought on human nature, on God, on faith, on the human condition. He never finished it. He died at 39, his body racked with illness, his health destroyed by years of physical suffering, but his mind, his soul, his spirit, fully alive, fully satisfied. Not because the void was gone, but because he understood what it was for. The void in you is not your enemy. It's your teacher. It's the thing that prevents you from settling for less than you were made for. Every time you try to fill it with something finite and it doesn't work, that's not failure. That's success. That's the void doing its job, telling you that you're reaching for the wrong thing, that you're trying to satisfy an infinite longing with finite pleasures, that you're built for more. Pascal's barometer proved that we live under invisible pressure in an ocean of air. But Pascal's life proved something more important. We live under invisible spiritual pressure in a universe that presses the question of meaning into every moment of our existence. And the void inside you is not asking to be filled with more stuff, more success, more achievement, more distraction. It's asking to be filled with the infinite, with the eternal, with God Himself. You spent so long trying to eliminate the void, trying to make it go away, trying to numb it, ignore it, overcome it, defeat it. What if instead you listen to it? What if the void is the wisest thing about you? What if that emptiness that terrifies you is actually the doorway to everything you've been searching for? Pascal climbed a mountain to prove that emptiness is real. Maybe it's time for you to stop running from yours. Maybe it's time to acknowledge it, to sit with it, to ask what it's trying to tell you. Because nature doesn't abhor a vacuum. God designed one, right in the center of who you are, and He's the only one who fits.